Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series, the edited version. Originally streamed live at twitch.tv/dualitiesdownfall. More information in the description. Okay, Chapter 5. Hey, Aradia, I know we haven't really talked much since you and Solix broke up, but I just wanted to see if you were doing okay. Oh, Carcat, that's really sweet of you. You don't need to worry about talking to me, though. It's not like we've stopped being friends just because me and Solix broke up, right? Right. I don't want to lose you as a friend either. Good. Well, we're both agreed on that not happening then. And I'm fine. Thank you for asking. I'm glad to hear that, but I was actually genuinely asking how you are. I mean, 10 years of matespritship just gone just like that is a lot to deal with. You don't have to pretend to be fine if you're not. Almost 10 years. Okay, a couple of months short, but still. No, I get your point. It's a big change, I suppose, since I've always lived with someone, either my Lucis or Solix, and suddenly living alone is odd. Although, that said, it's not too different to the times the two of us would be stuck on entirely opposite shifts. That's gotta be really hard to deal with. I'm sorry. It's fine, really. I mean, it is what it is, you know? Well, yes, but come on, it's not just some unusual situation that you've found yourself in. It's a breakup. I know that, Carcat. It's just that there's no point in wallowing in sad feelings, and these things pass with time. It doesn't change any of the good memories I have with Solix, and being upset at the relationship being over won't change anything at all, and I don't want it to. We broke up for a reason, because we discovered that our relationship was dead for a long time, and I wouldn't want to inflict that on either of us. I'm not saying you shouldn't have broken up. From what you both said, it seems like things came to a pretty final point. I'm not asking you to get back together. Well, then, there you go. It's final, so there's nothing else to say on the matter. Aradia, don't take this the wrong way, but you seem weirdly unbothered by this. It's not that I don't care, it's just that in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. The universe is being consumed every day, and focusing on what was is pointless. Me and Solix are over, and the only productive thing I can do is look to the future, and there's so much there. It doesn't change that we had good times, or that I wish him well, but I won't live in the past. Well, yeah, living in the past and agonizing about it obsessively is definitely bad for you, but there's sure as shit some middle ground between moping over what was and destroying your life in sadness and whatever it is that you're doing here. To be entirely honest, Carcat, I didn't actually ask you. Kanaya looks up from your palm husk that you slid across the table to her. Oh, that is not good, Kanaya says grimly. Thank you! She's clearly far more upset about this than she's letting on, and we need to do something about this, you insist. She clearly isn't interested in accepting help from you on this matter, no doubt because of how close you are to Solix. Aradia and I have also never been fantastically close, and I can only assume that if I was to try to approach her, she would assume that you have done exactly what you're doing now, Kanaya continues. She leans back in her chair slightly, drumming her claws on the table. It wouldn't work anyway, Rose comments from the little kitchenette area where she's dispensing boiling water into your mug so you can each have tea. We can't just sit back and do nothing, you argue. We could, actually. That is always an option, Kanaya says, because she's contrary like that. No, what I meant is that you're right. She would interpret Kanaya as another attempt by you to change her mind, and honestly, neither of you stand a chance. She's in denial about how she feels, very clearly so. Your best bet is to try to encourage someone else to talk to her, someone who shares her view on the situation, Rose suggests. By the situation, you mean what, exactly? Her attitude to the breakup, Solix himself, or how to best handle feelings of grief? Kanaya asks. Rose sets your mugs down on the table and perches on the edge of her and Kanaya's bed with her own. The latter. You can't engage with someone in denial like that. You have to meet them where they are by allowing them to accept the present and then confront the past at their own speed in a safe environment. If you're poking at the problem, it just won't open up. She has to come to the realization by herself. You need someone else who thinks that way, Rose explains. You frown and consider her words carefully. Dave? You ask uncertainly. Rose snorts inelegantly into her mug and then leans down to set it on the floor. All this gives her the time to give you the most withering of looks. No, Carcat, I would struggle to think of anyone less future-focused than Dave. Dave plans for the future, yes, but his plans for the future are entirely based on his knowledge of the past, and his plans are vague at best. His attitude to himself and others hinges on the past. He views the future as something that he'll deal with when he gets there. He's able to live in the present a lot more comfortably now than he used to be able to, but he is awful at living in the future. Aradia's current worldview is very much that the past cannot be changed, and only the future can be, Rose explains. Not to be obtuse here, but given a linear understanding of time, is that not how everyone thinks? Kanaya asks, and you're grateful that she does so you don't have to. Consider it like this. The past has already happened, yes, but some people obsess over their past. What did this event really mean? What caused it? What does that mean for me? Who was I? How did that shape me now? People who can't let their past go think like this, and they very much face backward, ignoring the present moment and the future. When new things happen in their life, they become just another thing to think about in the past. People agonize over what they could have done or should have done. It's unhealthy, Rose explains. You're pretty sure you've been guilty of that at times. On the other hand, some people refuse to think about their past. What's done is done, and they can't change it at all. Instead, they're always hopping from future moment to future moment, wishing for something that's not yet here. They think things will be all right when they finally have this thing or when that thing has happened. They're never satisfied with anything that happens because once they achieve it, then it flits through the present moment and off into the past. They avoid thinking about anything in the here and now or anything that has happened to them before, and instead focus only on the future. This is also unhealthy, Rose continues. So it's best to focus on the now. Surely that can lead to short-sighted hedonism, Kanaya asks. Certainly. An obsession with only this moment is also not good for you. What is best is to live in the present moment, but be able to look at what has happened in your past, accept it, learn from it, and leave it there. You should also look to the future and plan for things. Dream of progress, but also appreciate the moment you're in with a sort of mindfulness. It's all about balance, Rose answers her. So, Aradia's ignoring her past and only focusing on the future instead of how the past made her feel and how she's feeling now, you say. Correct. Now, Dave is able to live in the now, and generally does, but he's very tied to the past as a person, and he's just not great at dreaming ahead of himself. Which is fine. He's not unhealthy in how he views the world, but it's very incompatible if you're looking for someone to reason with Aradia. Now, Jade, on the other hand, is very future-focused. Not unhealthily most of the time, but she's a lot more predisposed to the whole the past is the past type of attitude. If you want someone to be around Aradia so she can pull back a bit and accept what happened, then I think Jade is your best bet, Rose suggests. You think? You ask, a little uneasily. It's not that you dislike Jade, far from it. She's one of your best friends. The problem with Jade is she's not just very strong-willed, but she's very averse to anything where it seems like you're trying to pull her strings to get her to do something. You had a lot of very embarrassing teenage arguments with her that you'd really rather not remember. The thing is that Jade is a good person. She's cheerful and friendly, but that doesn't always mean that she's nice, and you certainly shouldn't underestimate her. That said, you could describe Aradia with a lot of the same words, so Rose is right about that much. I'm sure if you're upfront with her about your concerns, then she'd be willing to help. She and Aradia are friends, after all, Kanaya says. Yeah, I suppose so. I just feel pretty bad that I've already upset Aradia, and I'd rather not piss off Jade, too, you say quietly. I'm sure she'll be happy to help you. She was the one who got broken up with, after all. She needs support. Just ask for help, Rose advises you sagely. You nod your head slowly and consider your next move. After a few moments of thought, you pick up your palm husk again and open a message to Jade. On the ship, you have 3 standard time shifts: first shift, second shift, and third shift. On top of that, though, you also have people in week A or week B, so that the ship is never understaffed because everyone's on weekend at the same point. Some professions, like Dave's and Gamzee's, don't follow that standard structure, and they just work when they work, but for most people in standard jobs, you fit into that kind of pattern. The vast majority of your friends are on week A, same as you, which ought to mean that Jade is off today, just like you are. Hi, Jade. Are you busy right now? Oh, hi, Carcat. I'm working at the moment, actually, but it's just number-crunching geophys data, so I could use the break, to be honest. What's up? Oh, I thought you'd have a day off. I normally would, yeah, but I had to switch shifts. Dave has an eye appointment tonight. They have to do all the checks and stuff before the big mission coming up. Since it fell right in his usual checkup window, they moved it up. Being suddenly blind and sometimes a little numb from painkillers isn't a good combo, so I try to take him there and back from the first appointment. Shit, I never really thought about what those would be like. I know the cyborg department has to tune him up or whatever every so often, but that's a lot. Yeah, and if anything is even slightly wrong, they have to take everything out and check it over, repair it, and all that until they can give them back to him. Wow. Oh, shit, I have to go. Oh, fuck, I didn't even get to ask you what I wanted to. Well, hey, why don't you come around for dinner this evening at 7 at my place? We can talk about whatever's on your mind, and if you bring dinner around, I don't have to pick that up on my way back with Dave. Are you sure he won't mind? Nah, he's fine. Afterwards, I just like to keep an eye on him, is all. Well, okay. Tonight at 7, then. Anything in particular that you want? Surprise me! Oh, gotta go! You shift your bewildered look from your palm husk to your friends. I think I'm seeing Jade this evening to ask about it, only Dave's gonna be there. He'll be blind, and I have to pick up with dinner, and I'm not completely sure what just happened, you tell them. That sounds like a standard conversation with Jade, Rose says with a nod. I guess, you say. You didn't really consider that Dave would be there listening to what you had to ask Jade. He's clearly already tried to talk to Aradia, but he doesn't know that you know that. You also don't know if Jade knows that. This could be tricky. You finish up tea with Rose and Kanaya, though thoroughly divested of several embarrassing bits of information that you hadn't meant to tell them, and with one unsettling analysis of a recent dream, too. You make a couple of attempts in the afternoon to talk to Solux, but he just seems sullen and miserable about things. The more you try to get him to open up, the snappier he gets with you until you eventually relent and back off. You tidy your place up a little, which mostly means picking up after Gamzee, but no matter what, you still have your mind set on this looming appointment with Jade and Dave. You leave early and then worry about what food would be best to feed a blind person, only to remember that you ate lunch daily with Dave and Terezi and never saw either of them have any problems with anything like that. Back in school, Dave didn't have Terezi's synesthesia-fueled vision, but he did have a very uncanny awareness of what was going on around him, and his vision was good enough that he still kicked your ass in gym class. He was always very clear that he was nearly blind, and not actually blind. But now that he's got cybernetic eyes, he's totally blind without them, because, well, his cybernetic eyes are now his only eyes. You settle on burritos, both because you like them, and because the food all stays within the wrap. Dave won't have to chase things blindly around his plate. It should be fine. At 7 on the dot, you ring Jade's doorbell, and after a few seconds, she opens it with a smile. It looks like you caught her partway through changing out of her work clothes. She's wearing a vest top, and her lab coat is hanging by the door. Hi, Carcat! She greets you brightly and steps inside. She plucks a sweater off of a nearby chair and pulls it over her head, then untucks her long hair from inside it. I brought food, you say, and hold the bag up. Great! Dave's just in the shower, so he'll be here in just a... Jade stops as a sudden yell from the bathroom interrupts you both. Beck! No, Beck! Dave yelps as you hear a loud scuffling commotion and then a noise like... well, you don't know what. Did Beck just get in the shower? Jade calls after a moment. Yes! Dave shouts back irritably. There's a few thumping footsteps, a muffled bark, and then the bathroom door slides open. Dave's standing there with one towel held around his waist and another one balled up in one fist. Beck's bright white fur is half sodden and sticking up at odd angles, with his mouth lolling open in a perpetual smile. Dave tosses the towel held in his hand to Jade and stomps back into the bathroom. His eyes were closed the whole time, and you're not sure if you want to see what he looks like with them open. The idea both intrigues and repulses you a little. You're certainly not going to ask. You're very soggy doggy, huh? Aren't you? Jade giggles as she rubs her dog dry. I thought he was retired from being a guide dog. Not that he was a great one before, you observe as Beck wiggles about happily in the towel. No, he's a very good guide dog. The problem is just that he does what he wants to do, not always what Dave wanted him to do. He'd never put Dave in danger. Even getting in the shower then, he wasn't going to knock Dave over, but he wanted in the shower, so in he goes. Too smart for his own good, Jade explains. Beck looks at you, and you can certainly agree that he seems far too intelligent for his own good, or at least for Dave's good. Before you say anything, the door opens again, and Dave is standing there fully dressed with his sunglasses on. You haven't seen those since before he got his eyes replaced. His shirt is riding up a little as he rubs a towel through his hair. Carcat, just because I'm Mexican doesn't mean you had to get Mexican. I feel racially profiled. Dave deadpans and drops down to sit on the edge of Jade's double bed. I thought I'd give you something to complain about. Plus, if you have a burrito stuffed in your mouth, you'll stop talking for a moment. You shoot back. Always knew you wanted to stuff something in my mouth, Dave says, the corner of his mouth curling up in a smug little smile. Don't we all? Which one is which? Jade asks as she picks through the bag you brought. This one's mine, and those two, it's up to you, you say as you pluck your burrito out. Dave, more spice or less spice? Normally I wouldn't ask, but... Jade trails off, one burrito in each hand. Yeah, but after Equius rummaging around in my tear ducts, I'll wimp out, thanks. Just for today, Dave says, and you watch as he leans over to grab the burrito from Jade and misses. She moves and presses it to his hand, so the moment is minute, but you still caught it. So, Carcat, what did you want to talk about? Jade asks, unwrapping her burrito. You pick at the foil surrounding yours and try to figure out how to phrase what you mean to say, even though you've been thinking about it all afternoon. More accurately, you've been thinking about it since Rose mentioned it. It's... You know about Aradia and Solix, right? You ask. Of course I do. Jade nods. Shit really sucks. Like, it's a real crap situation for everyone involved. Dave agrees and bites into his burrito. Exactly. When I talk to Aradia, she's acting like nothing is wrong, and I know Aradia's a little bit like that. She doesn't let things get her down, but this isn't something small. I tried to get her to talk to me about it. She's my friend, too. I know Solix is my best friend and all, but we're not doing this whole thing where a couple breaks up and they divide the friend group, you explain. I don't think anyone wants that, Jade nods. Right, but I tried talking to her about it, and I think I made things worse. No, I definitely made things worse, or at least made her angry at me. Maybe I'm just too close to Solix for her to tell me how she's doing, but she's my friend too, and I don't like the idea that she's hurt and not talking to anyone about it. I'm pretty sure she won't talk to me, but I was hoping that maybe you could try to be there for her, get her to open up a little, you ask hopefully. You said you talked to her before, right, Dave? Jade asks, glancing over at Dave. So he did tell her. Dave swallows his burrito and nods. She's up to her neck in denial about the whole thing. I tried to tell her that that shit festers, you know, but she got as close to blowing up in my face that Radia does and stormed off, so I'm pretty sure that if I try to talk to her about that, she'll deck me. But maybe I'm in her bad books because I took her ex who dumped her into my hive, so... You know. Dave shrugs a little. Would you talk to her, Jave? You ask hopefully. I'm really not sure I should. She clearly doesn't want to talk about any of this, but... Well, I've been pushing for a lot of the science crew to get together for social things before the next big mission. I could actually arrange everything to make that happen instead of just suggesting it and make sure that Aradia is there. She might just need to take her mind off of things and have stuff to look forward to that both doesn't have anything to do with Solix and never has. A whole new thing, you know? Then if it feels right, or if she wants to talk, then she can, Jade suggests. Rose's assessment seems pretty on point. Not that you should be surprised by that. Rose is always accurate. I can't imagine how shitty she must feel. Solix is a mess, and Hal feels guilty as shit. I like Aradia, and I hate the idea that she's dealing with this nightmare on her own, Dave says quietly. Dave holds out his hand, and Beck walks over, dropping down to sit between Dave's legs and lolling his head against Dave's knee. Dave pets his former and now temporarily present guide dog. I'd really appreciate it if you could. I still can't believe this happened at all, you say glumly. Solix has made it clear that however things between him and Aradia changed, it happened slowly and a while ago. It's scary to think that that sort of thing can just creep up on you. A relationship-ending mound of problems just lurking unaware. It really sucks. Now we're the longest-running couple in our group. Not really a title I wanted, seeing as it meant them falling apart, Dave says. It's not like it's anyone's fault, but it's still sad, Jade agrees. Can I get that in writing? Hal is still losing sleep over it. Dave laughs without much humor. I still have no idea how he thought that whole dumbass scheme was going to go down. Like anyone would have bought that whole fake relationship thing, Jade says, shaking her head. Aradia bought it, you mumble, killing the conversation. The three of you silently eat your food for a bit, the weight of the truth you just dropped holding all of your tongues. Eventually, you can't stand it anymore, and you have to say something. So, Dave, what exactly is Equius doing with your eyes? You ask awkwardly. Tune-up, updating the software and hardware. The next planet we're going to is very snowy, so he's making sure they can handle upping the contrast in snow. No good me getting there and being perpetually snow-blinded, Dave answers. It's incredible that he can do that much. I'm surprised that Terezi never went in for that. I know she doesn't view her blindness as a disability or anything, which is fine, but you'd think Equius could do something that would help, even if it wasn't as extensive as yours. You wonder. Dave shakes his head. It's not like that. I didn't care much about being able to see better. I mean, it was nice to help with my art. Dave starts, though he pauses at your derisive snort on the subject of his art. I just needed perfect and even enhanced vision to do the job I needed to do. I have to be out there, you know? If I had wanted to do something else, if things had been different, and I don't think I'd have gone in for it either. My eyes were always fucked up. It was normal for me. There was enough tech to help me read and write. My hearing was great, and I could do pretty much everything else, but since I did upgrade, I end up totally in the dark if they break or if they need repairing. I'm worse off now than I was before. I didn't need fixing, I just needed to pass a test to do my job. Terezi does her job and lives her life fine. She doesn't need fixing, Dave explains. I didn't mean... You falter. Sounds a little bit like you did, Jade points out gently. I guess I did. Sorry, I didn't mean to come off like I think you needed fixing. I'm just impressed with the technology is all. You apologize. You'd say it was short-sighted of you to say that, but you managed to catch that dumbass comment before it slips out. It's fine, I don't care. If TZ hears you going on about that, though, she might whap you with that cane, Dave teases you. I've no doubt that she'd do that immediately. You agree. She'd never sign up for this kind of thing. You know that when she and I hang out together, I turn them off? I manually make them send me no information. We have blind hangouts. It's great. No need to turn the light on or anything. Dave grins. I swear, you always got around better in the dark anyway. Was that actually the case? Was lower light easier, or was I just aware that I couldn't see and you two were fine? You wonder. It's not like that came up a lot. Dave snorts and bites a huge chunk out of his burrito as Beck watches hopefully for dropped morsels. Anyway, I'll try to invite Aradia to this science hangout that I had in mind. Hopefully that'll be good for her. I'll look out for her, Jade promises. Thanks. That really means a lot. You don't need to report back to me or anything. It's probably better if you don't, but I'm happy that someone will be there for her, and hopefully things can get better, you say as a little tension leaves you. What about Solix? How's he been? I've been trying to stay on top of him. You falter as Jade loudly snorts into her burrito. Shut the fuck up, you snap at her, which only makes her laugh at you more outwardly because Jade has no shame in her mockery. You were saying? Dave asks politely, something that makes you automatically suspicious, but nonetheless you press on. I've been trying to keep an eye on how he's doing, but he can be cagey as all hell when he wants to be. Right now he keeps varying between passive-aggressive and just outright aggressive if I push him too hard on it, you say. But doesn't he have... Jade starts. Jade, ixnay on the LP, Dave hisses at her. Dave, I can speak like 6 languages fluently. Do you really think I can't translate the most basic cipher of Pig Latin? I know that there's some pale feelings with the whole Solix situation. That wasn't what I was asking, you say. On both sides? Jade asks quietly, her sharp green eyes pinning you in place. That's not... I'm with Gamzee, and that's nothing new. I just want to know how he's doing because I'm having a hard time getting a straight answer out of him. Like, he'll sidetrack into other topics or ideas when I'm trying to get a read on how he's handling the breakup. Dave, you live with him. What's going on? You ask as discomfort builds in you. I don't know. He's not skipping around with glee or anything, and if I try and help him with stuff too much, he just keeps reminding me that we're not friends, Dave says, with a movement of his head that you learned to associate with him rolling his eyes back when you were in school, and he was forever hidden by those glasses. You guess it's still a mannerism he has. He doesn't mean that. He's just bad at accepting that people like him, you assure Dave. Like you? Dave says at the same time that Jade does. Dave grins at Jade, and you watch as the insufferable pair fist bump each other, and with that, at least, Dave seems to have no coordination problems. You both suck, you inform the pair of them. Anyway, he seems pretty sad about it, but that's entirely what you'd expect. The guy just got his heart broken. It's not like he's just gonna walk that off, like... I guess Aradia's doing that, but he isn't. Pretty sure her being so fine with everything ain't doing him any favors. Other than that, I don't have anything else to tell you. I'm not spying on the guy, Dave says. Just to be clear, though, you're not asking me to make sure that Aradia feels bad just so that Solix can feel better, Jade checks. No, of course not. I don't want that, but the two of them are still going to be pretty connected on the topic of their whole relationship. I'm pretty sure how Solix feels and how he's doing affects her, you reason. It should, anyway. Half the reason you're here is that it doesn't seem to be, and that's worrisome. Your attention gets sidetracked away from the topic of Aradia and Solix as Dave licks a slow, running drip of red salsa off of his hand, from the palm to the tip of his thumb. You think you're past the stage where attractive people you like get to make your pump biscuit stutter, but along with Solix, you have to admit that Dave is one who never really stopped. Not that Jade is any exception either. An embarrassing portion of your teenage years was mixed with relief because one of your crushes started dating someone, which meant you could move past it, and despair because said crush would now make out with one of your other former crushes. Probably inevitable, given just how many confused crushes you had. Your whole quadrant problems and the pains of realizing what that meant for you was hard enough. Your relationship with Gamzee is fulfilling, and he's willing to live in the stupid confines you put him in, so you really shouldn't wish for more. But all the same, Dave always managed to mash the buttons in the flush pitch centers of your thing sponge in a way that never fully stopped. Like, sure, you once had a crush on Jade, but you had one on Terezi, too. You can perfectly happily see them both as friends who happen to be attractive, and the conscious attraction you have is mostly faded, but Dave... he's in the same category of Solix, where you're determined to stay friends because of how much you care, but it's not as if the feelings ever really went away. Dave jolts you out of your stupid thoughts by balling up the foil his burrito came in. He lowers it to Beck's height.
Beck, trash. Dave instructs the bark beast, who carefully takes the foil from Dave's hands and drops it gently into the small trash can across the room.
Good boy!
Jade rewards him. Dave beckons the white fluff monster back and gives him approving scritches and pets to reward him. I should probably get out of your hair. Thanks for offering to help Aradia out. It's a real weight off my mind. You thank Jade.
It's no problem. She's my friend too. Thanks for dinner.
Jade smiles. Later, Dave says as you stand, although he doesn't get up himself. Jade walks you to her front door, but stops you before you can walk off by placing her hand on your shoulder. You turn to look at her in confusion, and she fixes you in place with the weight of her stare.
I know you're worried, Karkat. It'll all work out all right, and even if it didn't, it's not your job to make everyone happy all the time. I know you've only got the best intentions, but sometimes things just don't work out. This isn't on you, you know? Don't beat yourself up about everything,
Jade says gently, and then punches your shoulder lightly, or lightly for her at least. Is beating me up your job then? You laugh a little weakly.
Yeah,
Jade grins, rolling her sleeve up a little and flexing at you. You hurry off before she decides to prove her strength the second time. You've very firmly learned that lesson over the years. Instead of taking the train back to your hive right away, electing to let your feet steer you hivewards as your mind mulls everything over. Is there a chance that you're the problem here? Not the central problem, of course. You're not that egotistical. Obviously, Solix and Aradia's breakup is the key problem here, but you had thought that you were helping. Solix came to you, and you gave him a place to sleep for the night. You found him a place to live longer term, and you're trying to look after him. You're also trying to make sure that Aradia is taken care of, too, because it's not as if you only cared for her because she was Solix's mate spirit. She's your friend as well. But are you making things worse? You try not to look at Solix's feelings too directly. It's an unspoken agreement between the two of you that you know how he feels and he knows how you feel. You're at a stalemate with that, and you value your friendship too much, so neither of you talk about it. You'll reference it if it's really contextually needed, but otherwise it's a taboo subject. That doesn't mean that feelings aren't there. There's every chance that your feelings and Solix's feelings are causing a problem here. You need to face this, even if it's just in the privacy of your own mind. The thing is that you're broken. Your boundaries between quadrants are broken, a trait that you share with your ancestor. Signless supposedly loved without quadrant, as Disciple so often tells you. She was in a relationship with your ancestor as well as Solix's. Both men are long since dead, but their traits live on in you and your respective ancestors. As far as you know, Cancri is a lot more like Signless than you are in that regard, but he refuses all quadrants so he can dedicate himself to his work. More like he's too insufferable for anyone to want him, but you try to keep that thought to yourself. You're different. You can do just one quadrant without it getting blurry. Your relationship with Gamzee is strictly pale. But the fact that you can do blurry makes you far more compatible with humans than most trolls. Humans found adapting to Moira legions with trolls remarkably easy, and you know some human scholars go on about queer platonic relationships or something, but you're not well versed in that. But any quadrant where paling is involved, humans hit that speed bump of exclusivity. A majority of humans can only really manage monogamy when it comes to concupiscent relationships, and the idea that your mate spirit has a schismasis is really not something a lot of humans can deal with. You're a lot more human than you'd like. You can't share. Gamzee is fine to not see anyone else, and that's what makes things between you work. The idea of you having a partner and them going off to anyone else for anything beyond platonic makes you feel like absolute shit. That's on you. Gamzee puts up with your absurd, broken, and stupid demand, whereas basically no one else would agree to that. When you were younger, you hadn't fully worked out how that would work in practice, what you were and weren't okay with. You had crushes that were doomed because your emotions went haywire when anyone else came in the picture. Solix had feelings for you, and you know they were as blurry as your ancestors had. You also know damn well that Disciple was watching you with the unguarded curiosity of the elderly to see if history would repeat itself. You couldn't do it, though. You couldn't risk all that you had with Solix when you weren't sure what you were asking, and you couldn't make him wait forever. So, when he and Aradia got together, it was, ironically, that which made you realize your limits. You like Aradia, you do, but you're not dating her, so sharing Solix, even if it was just pale, wouldn't have been something you could deal with. Solix knew that. He talked it through with you. Then you and Gamzee got together, and it was doubly not a thing either of you could do. But now, Solix is single, and you're pretty sure his feelings never really went away, just as yours didn't. He's single, and you're worried about him, checking up on him, trying to fix things. It's all pretty pale. You don't want to cheat on Gamzee, and you don't think you are. This is still arguably platonic, but it's close enough that it probably feels like a kick in the teeth for Solix. You'd never overstep your bounds, so it's almost like you're giving him as close to pale as you can, all while reminding him that your diamond is very much off the table, along with anything else you might feel. Fuck. You're not helping. You might even be making things worse. You hesitate, your hand going to your pocket for your palm husk. You want to troll him, to explain yourself, to check he's okay, and then apologize for all of this. Are you tempted to do that for his benefit, though, or for yours? He's going through so much shit right now, it's really not okay for you to ask him to stop processing his own pain just to assure you that you're a good person. Shit, of course you can't ask. How self-centered are you?
Disciple, can I come and talk to you?
Of course you can, sweetie. What's wrong? Do you want to come over?
If I could. Do you need me to pick up anything on the way since I'm coming over?
Oh, maybe some cake and cookies?
Because you're being nice and helping me, I won't remind you that you should probably be watching your blood sugar or anything.
A smart choice.
I'll head over there now.
Instead of getting on the line going sternwards, you cross over to the bow directional line. There's a little grocery place not too far from your destination, so when you get really close by, you swing into there and pick up a lemon cake and ginger cookies. Technically, the residential area you're in now ought to be off-limits to you, although your HR privileges allow you to go wherever you like. You do need authorization for some places. Yes, you can go check out the ship's engine, but no way in hell are you going to be allowed anywhere near the nuclear reactors down there. Definitely not without decent supervision, at least. In the same way, you shouldn't be allowed into the captain's quarters, except you do have authorization. Personal authorization. You swipe through the layers of security and give the guards a little wave as you go. The captain's hive is pretty extensive in size, with a large living area, a small but functional kitchen, a library/office space, and then a decently sized private respite block and ablution block. You knock on the door. You could have just walked right in, but that still seems rude, even if you were invited. The doors slide open, and Disciple smiles down at you. Even though trolls get darker with age, her smile and lined face has always seemed bright and warm to you. When you were a kid, you'd put your pale gray hands on her deep, dark arms and wonder what you'd look like at her age. Honestly, you don't know what your lifespan is, given your mutation. Signless didn't get to die of old age, so you've no clue. Disciple is pretty fucking old, though. She's mid-blood, but she's very old for Olive. Not that you like to think of that.
Carcat!
Disciple says cheerily and pulls you into a hug. You bury your face in her hair and take in the smoky smell of her. It's not as if she's been by any firesides on the ship, but she spent so much time nearby them when she was younger that it's almost part of her now.
Hey, Dis.
You smile at her.
Ooh, cake! Come on in.
She grins, taking the grocery bag from your hand.
It's lemon. I hope that's okay.
You say as she totters over to her kitchen surfaces and starts unpacking the treats you brought her. Behind you, a door slides open, and you turn to see the captain herself.
Captain,
you say, about as respectfully as you can think you can get away with.
Don't you captain me, I heard cake.
Captain Jade says with a wicked smile as she rubs her wrinkly hands together in anticipation. It's funny to look at her sometimes. The resemblance between her and her granddaughter is just uncanny when she gets that mischievous expression on her face. Remarkable hearing at your age, sir, you say innocently. Oh, the cheek on this one here, the captain exclaims, and then tries to pinch your cheek, the same way she's tried many times since you were little, but you're wise to this game. Unfortunately, she is older, wiser, and cannier than you, and you end up with pinched cheeks and very ruffled hair, despite your escape attempts. In the background, Disciple is casually slicing up cake and serving it onto dainty little plates, all while boiling water for tea. All right, stop. Dear. Disciple's tone turns a little warning as she looks at the captain, although the menace is a little undercut by the carefully plated cake slices in each hand. The captain of your entire vessel, a woman who actually lived on Earth before it was destroyed, a woman who rose in the ranks of command and jumped ship to an Alternian vessel back when trolls and humans weren't as au fait with each other as they are now. That woman who proved herself to high-bloods and low-bloods alike and got control of her own vessel at the remarkably young age of 30, but can even now, in her old age, make the subjugulators nod with respect. That woman looks at the offered cake and weighs it against the chance to keep pinching you for her own amusement, and with a delighted cackle, lets you go and takes her cake. I'll be on the bridge, the captain says cheerily, kisses Disciple on the cheek, and scampers away with her treat. Come on, sit down, Disciple smiles and takes a seat on the lounge plank, gently patting the space at her side. You settle into place at Disciple's side and uneasily pick at your cake with your fork. It's one of a set, well, a collection of the captain's. All Earth original, and none of them match at all, which makes them match in an odd way. A lot of stuff from Earth was melted down to make needed components for ships, and it saddens you to think about how much history the humans lost. All the culture contained in physical items that no longer exist. Of course, you still have forks and even replicas of designs from Earth, but the real thing is rare, and that's a shame. Karkat? Disciple prompts. You realize that you'd been avoiding thinking about what you came here for. You falter. Did Signless ever have problems with people? He was executed, so yes. Stupid question. Stupid. How do you mean? Disciple asks instead. You fiddle with your fork a little, not looking at her. I mean, he had you in the psionic, and the three of you were a thing. You begin, your words faltering. Yes, Disciple says slowly. It's not as if she doesn't talk to you about yours and Solix's ancestors a lot. She talks to you and Cancri, Solix, Nepeta, and Mulan about them all the time. Mituna, too, as well, before all that went down. She took losing him pretty hard, probably because it was a huge echo of how it felt to have the psionic taken from her forever. It certainly wouldn't have helped that Mituna was the spitting image of his ancestor. You've seen the pictures, so you know that. Signless looked a lot more like Cancri, but if Cancri was trying to disguise himself as you, it's an odd mix. When it comes to Disciple, it's Nepeta who resembles her more. Anyway, she talks about them a lot. She's so interested in all of you because Signless and Psionic were hers. Granted, she has an interest in Kanaya and Porum too, but Disciple wasn't romantically involved with their ancestor, so it's not the same. For better or worse, Disciple is invested in your lives because for all the the 5 of you aren't your ancestors, there's echoes and mutations of who they were alive in all of you. You know it weirds some of the humans out, not on your ship, but on the ones where it's almost all human, where they don't get trolls so much. They would consider all of you Ventus capture Legion descendants to be related in some way, which, no, you're not. The only person you have anything close to that with is Cancri. The Alternian word for what you are to him is his ancestor, and that doesn't map over accurately enough to borrow the words brother or cousin from human languages, but it's the closest to it. Your ancestor's background with Solix's gives your whole deal context, but not relation. It's not like that. So, Disciple isn't family to you, not like how Jade sees the captain, not how you saw your Lucis, and not how you see Cancri, but she's something. Maybe in a few more generations, with shorter ancestor-descendant turnaround thanks to the mother grubs being so scattered and decentralized, maybe then There'll be some term coined for what she is to you, but she's family in some sense. An adoptive sense, maybe? You've distracted yourself again. Sorry, you apologize quietly. It's all right, Disciple assures you. When he was with you and the psionic, did he have feelings for other people? You ask her. Disciple smiles a little sadly and slices her fork through her cake. He had lots of feelings for lots of people. I'm assuming you mean romantic, so sort of? He still had attraction to other people outside of us, certainly. We spent a lot of time laying low in places, and psionic, he set up this game of pale quad kill whenever we were watching people, or even when we'd been around people for a bit. In private, of course. So he certainly experienced attraction, even though he was with us. We all did. It's perfectly normal, and we weren't jealous about some passing appreciation for someone's looks or personality, Disciple explains. I'm not surprised by that, you say with a shake of your head. That entirely sounds like something Solix would do too. Again, your ancestors have echoes in you. Are you having feelings for someone outside of your relationship with your Moirail? Disciple asks you carefully. An excess of feelings is perpetually my problem, and will be for my entire fucking life, I'm sure. I mean, you stumble slightly in your words. Did he ever want to be with anyone other than you two? Not just finding someone attractive, but actively wanting to be involved with them? If he did, I didn't know about it. I know Psionic did at one point. We'd been dealing with a lower-class ship's helmsman, trying to work out a way to free her, and Psi spent a lot of time talking to her, and he developed some feelings, and he felt terribly guilty about that. Silas talked to him about it. I know that much, but I don't remember if they told me what they said. It became a non-issue anyway, because sadly she was caught and killed. She answers you. There's an answer there somewhere, but it's lost to the depths of time, either because Disciple doesn't remember in her old age, and with so many years between then and now, or just because she was never made aware of the details of that conversation. I wish I could ask him, you say, small and sad. Most trolls never meet their ancestors, and you're no exception, but you know so much of him through her, and he's strange in so many of the ways you are, that you always feel that if he was here, he could help you. You miss him, which is stupid, because you've never met. You like to think sometimes that he is still here, in a way, living through you in a far better time and place, despite the end of the universe chasing you through space. You're not him, but you hope that if there's anything like a soul that exists, that maybe his can see all of this through you. You just hope you're not a complete letdown for him. If you tell me what the problem is, then maybe I can tell you what he might have said, Disciple suggests gently, her hand on your shoulder. You know how me and Solix have always... You break off with a vague gesture to communicate just how much you've always loved him. How you're pale and red and black, and how sometimes he gets at himself so much that you could also almost be ashen between the part of him that attacks his own well-being and the rest of him. He's your best friend, and there's everything else there all at once, and things will always be complicated there. He and Aradia broke up, and obviously he's hurt. Of course he is. I want to make it better. I'm trying to help however I can, because I'm his best friend, But I know he has feelings, and I have feelings, but I have Gamzee, so I can't... I don't even know if I'm helping, or if I'm this horrible pale tease when that's the last thing he needs, and I don't even know anymore, you say in a rush. You feel stupid and awful. It's far too much like when you were just becoming a teenager and your feelings were so foreign and awful. You hated that you weren't normal, that you couldn't be like other trolls. You wonder if Signless ever felt so shitty. He worked out something that made him happy, but he got lucky. You don't get that. Wait, no, it's not that you're not lucky. You're lucky that Gamzee pities the broken mess that you are, that he's willing to be exclusive with you, and every other troll would surely tell you to fuck all the way off if you dared to ask for that. What kind of useless, ungrateful, emotionally unfaithful kind of garbage heap are you? I should go, you blurt out as you leap to your feet.
Karkat, if things aren't working for you anymore, you can talk to them about it. Renegotiate. Be honest about your feelings, Disciple suggests as you flounder trying to find a space to put your plate of cake down. You laugh as you put it on the side, a disbelieving kind of sound. Are you kidding? I couldn't convince those two to share a meal, much less... I can't do that. It's not fair. You bite your words off at the end. I should go. You add that last part awkwardly. You came here and disturbed her. Karkat, you don't have to go, Disciple says, but you do. You have to go. You make your apologies and excuses and leave. You hurry to the train and navigate through the ship to get to your hive. Stumbling through the door, you feel guilt and shame burning hot up the back of your neck, and you wish so dearly that you were anything but what you are. Karkat? Gamzee sticks his head around your respite block door, his face both sleepy and confused as he looks at you. Sorry, I didn't mean to... You were sleeping, right? You trip over your words.
Was, until I felt all that in the hive. What's... Gamzee walks towards you with the slow, assessing gaze and lazy pace of an apex predator. His purple eyes sharpen on you, looking right through you, no doubt. Your back hits the door and your mind flashes through guilt, shame, self-loathing, all of it. Gamzee's far larger hand goes for your neck. He could snap it in one-handed, you're pretty sure, but instead he just shoves his thumb against the underside of your chin to make you look up at him again. At some point you'd stop doing that. Who hurt you? Gamzee says quietly. You laugh, a hysterical kind of sound that doesn't seem to set your concerned Moirel at ease any. You're pretty sure he wants to rip apart whoever upset you. Given that it's you, then you sort of wish he would. No one. Me. I'm sorry. You answer instead. What are you sorry for? He asks, with a confused frown pulling at his face paint. I'm... everything... me. I'm sorry I'm like this. I'm sorry I'm the way I am. I know everything with Solix and you is hard, and you didn't deserve this. I wish I was better, and you put up with so much, and... Ah! You yelp as Gamzee picks you up and throws you over his shoulder like a bag of dirty laundry. There's no getting down from Gamzee's shoulders. You don't want to actually claw him up trying to escape, and you have a feeling that even if you tried that, you wouldn't get anywhere. What the fuck? Put me down! You shout as your Moirel casually walks through your hive with you over his shoulder. You can hear him kicking a few things about, and then, with a momentum that you can't resist, he sort of swings you off his shoulder and down onto a pile of stuff that he's shoved together. Gamzee drops to his knees and rests his hand on either side of you so he can fully stare you down, almost nose to nose he's so close. You occasionally... This is so stupid. Occasionally, you remember when he picks you up like this or gets close to you all quiet that he is actually a highly trained killer, that he's taken down creatures 10 times your size, that for all his long, narrow limbs, there's absurd strength there, that he could rend apart or kill a normal person if he wanted to. He wouldn't, though. You know him better than that. What's going on in your pan? Gamzee asks, his voice a deep rumble. Not the subject of Gamzee's potential to kill and dismember people. Nope. It's stupid, you say and look off to the side. A deep, displeased growl reverberates through Gamzee's chest, and a large hand comes up to the side of your head. He hooks his thumb around your horn and makes you look at him. Yeah, you're not getting out of this that easily. He stares you down and waits patiently. You always give in first when it comes to this sort of situation. I wish I wasn't the way that I am, you confess. Gamzee makes a disapproving tutting sound and shakes his head, his long fingers stroking paths through your hair. The way you are is some kind of miracle, don't say that, he assures you gently. It doesn't feel like it. I talked to Disciple today, and I feel shitty about the whole wretched situation. If I was signless, he'd know what to do. Instead, I'm here. And I tried to talk to Aradia to check to see if she was okay about the Solix thing, because she's my friend too, but she snapped at me, and I'm supposed to be her friend too, and I just want her to be okay, and it's all tumbling out of you in a rush now, words slamming into each other in a 50-car pileup of a disaster. Shoosh. Signless ain't here, and even if you were him, it's not him I pity, it's yourself, so stop with that for one, Gamzee tells you and paps your cheek with his other hand, the one not keeping you focused on him. Second, I get what you mean with Aradia. Girl's got all kinds of unbearable lightness going on up in that pan of hers, but if she ain't gonna crack, you can't make her. That's not your problem, Gamzee says, his cold fingers tapping out a soothing pattern on your cheekbone. Without any input from your think sponge, you can already feel yourself melting into this pile of whatever it is that Gamzee kicked together for this. What if she won't talk to me because of me and Solix? You ask softly. There's a flicker of that age-old irritation at Solix even being mentioned, let alone the idea that there's something between the two of you that could make Aradia unhappy. Shit, Disciple was all ready to suggest that you ask Gamzee if you can rearrange your relationship. Even assuming that you'd be okay with exclusively dating Gamzee and exclusively dating Solix at the same time, and assuming that both of them would be alright not seeing anyone but you, which is a bonkers demand. Even assuming that both of them would be alright not seeing other people and sharing you with someone else, you know damn well that neither Solix nor Gamzee would be alright sharing you with the other romantically. Gamzee would rather eat broken glass than do that. You don't need to ask shit to know that. Things might have worked out all moonshine and roses for your ancestor, who got himself a nice little exclusive triangular polyamorous thing. That's what the humans would call that, at least. But that's not happening here. It'd be more likely for you to be crowned empress, and that's not happening in any universe. The irritation on Gamzee's face slips off like it was never there, and instead he smiles softly at you. Aradia's problems are hers, man. She's got to face that darkness on her own, even if that's not usually her job, Gamzee assures you. He paps your face a little harder now and leans down to rest his whole body on you. The hand on your face is less of a gentle tap and more like he's kneading into all the little pale chemical release places in your face that make your mind go all goo. Fuck, you can't think good. You try to say something, but it's all garbly nonsense. Instead, Gamzee is a cold weight on you, his chilled hands on your face like a cold shower, rinsing every bad thought you have away. All thoughts, actually.